Hello everyone. Today we will learn the heme synthesis step by step. In the slide you can see this is the three-dimensional structure of heme. Now where does this heme synthesis takes place? Mainly it occurs in liver and erythroid cells. That means within the bone marrow. The process occurs in mitochondria as well as in cytosol. But I have written mitochondria twice. What is its significance? The significance is very simple. The first few steps occur in mitochondria, then the product come out in cytosol, and finally again some steps within the mitochondria. So it's a bi-compartment process. In step 1 we need succinyl-CoA and glycine. Succinyl-CoA and glycine in presence of delta amino livulinic acid synthase converts into delta amino livulinic acid or ALA. ALA means amino livulinic acid. The delta word is not there in the abbreviation. Now this reaction is PLP dependent or pyridoxal phosphate dependent. It's a vitamin, acts as coenzyme here in this reaction, and from the reaction you can appreciate that carbon dioxide molecule is eliminated and CoA SH is also eliminated. Now this ALA synthase 1 is present in liver as well as in erythroid tissue, but the liver variety is known as ALA synthase 1 and the erythroid variety is known as ALA synthase 2. The ALA synthase 1 is a rate limiting enzyme. We can control it. It's an inducible enzyme. It has regulation. But ALA synthase 2, unlike ALA synthase 1, is not inducible. No feedback inhibition is possible in case of ALA synthase 2. These are the gross difference between ALA synthase 1 and ALA synthase 2. So this was the first step. So we will proceed with the ALA in the second step. The second step, two ALA molecules combine to form a new molecule called porphobilinogen. In short, it is called PBG. Here two ALA molecules with the help of porphobilinogen synthase, water molecule is out. So name of the enzyme can also be called as ALA dehydratase. So ALA dehydratase and porphobilinogen synthase are synonymous. This is also a unidirectional step, but here the thing is ALA after production within the mitochondria, it come out in the cytosol. So the second step occurs in the cytosol only. Now the step 3. Here the step 3 I will take some more time than other steps because these are little more difficult to understand. If you observe carefully, you can easily understand. That's not a problem. So here we start with 4-porphobilinogen molecule. In which compartment? Now we are in cytosol. So 4-porphobilinogen molecule in presence of porphobilinogen deaminase. Deaminase means it removes the amino group. So 4 amino groups are removed and they condense to form initially a compound called HMB. What is HMB? HMB full form is hydroxymethylbilane. This hydroxymethylbilane now spontaneously converts into a cyclical compound. See, HMB is a linear compound, okay, but it spontaneously converted into cyclical compound. I will show you in the next slide. This porphobilinogen deaminase, as it synthesizes HMB, so another name of this porphobilinogen deaminase is HMB synthase. Now it condenses, it cyclizes to form a new compound called UPG1. UPG1 means uroporphyrinogen 1. So a tetrapyral cyclical compound is produced. This is called UPG1. Why I have written symmetric AP? Look at this very carefully, that here there are 4 tetrapyral rings, and here the groups, here this is acetyl group, this is propionyl group, acetyl propionyl, AP, 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 then again AP. So all are symmetrical. The orientation or the arrangement in all the rings of the tetrapyral are symmetrical. This is ring number 1, this is ring number 2, this is ring number 3, and this is ring number 4. So when the arrangement is symmetrical, this is called UPG1. But here in this reaction there is another player, another enzyme is there along with the HMB synthase. Okay, see, just now I have told that the first step, in the third step, the first enzyme was HMB synthase, and this cyclization is non-enzymatic. So UPG1 is formed without any enzyme. But here, after formation of UPG1, there is another enzyme which is inbuilt with this HMB synthase, that is named as uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase. So it converts the UPG1 into UPG3. What's the difference? UPG1 and UPG3? In UPG1, the ring number 4, the orientation is same like AP. But in case of UPG3, ring number 4, the orientation is PA. So it's not symmetrical, it's lose its symmetry. Okay, so symmetric AP, 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 AP converts into asymmetric AP, 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 PA. Now the product is uroporphyrinogen 3. This uroporphyrinogen 3, with the help of another enzyme called CpG synthase. Here you can appreciate in every step the enzyme has 2 names. One is functional name, one is according to the substrate, one is according to the product. So CpG synthase is also known as uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. That means 4 carbon dioxide in step 4 they removed. They removed from which molecule? They removed from the acetyl group. See, look at this diagram. From this 4 acetyl group, the carbon dioxide molecules are removed with the help of uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase, and coproporphyrinogen 3 or CpG3 is formed. So now instead of AP, 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 PA, it is MP, 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 PM. With this coproporphyrinogen 3, we start into step 5. Here, 2 carbon dioxides are removed with the help of coproporphyrinogen oxidase. Again, this step, the substrate entered within the mitochondria. So CpG3 first have to enter within the mitochondria. Here, oxidase enzyme is there. Now 2 carbon dioxides are removed, from which group or from which ring? It is from ring 1 and ring 2, not from ring 3 and ring 4. So the new compound, in the new compound, the propionyl group converts into vinyl group. Now you can look at the protoporphyrinogen 9. So protoporphyrinogen 9 here in ring 1, instead of propionyl it is vinyl group. Here also ring 2, this is vinyl group. So a gross change is there, but not in all the rings, not in all the 4 rings, only in ring 1 and ring 2. This is the variety called protoporphyrinogen 9. So coproporphyrinogen oxidase can also known as protoporphyrinogen 9 synthase. With this we will proceed to the next step. The next step is the protoporphyrinogen 9 with the help of protoporphyrinogen oxidase converts into protoporphyrin 9. Look at this diagram very carefully. Here the linkage is with CH2 group and both sides they are single bond. Now look at the product. Here the group is CH, the connector, and one is double bond and another is single bond. So in scientific language, the methylene linkage converted into methine linkage. In step 7 or the last step, this protoporphyrin 9, here another enzyme plays the role, that is called ferrochelatase. The ferrochelatase, it incorporates the ferrous iron, the ferrous atom at the center, and from the nitrogen atom, in every chiral group the nitrogen atoms are there, they make coordinate bond with this ferrous group. Here ferric molecule will not be incorporated, only ferrous. If accidentally ferric molecule is incorporated, the name should be changed. Instead of heme, it will be called hemine. Okay, I will discuss in another video later regarding what's the difference between heme and hemine. But here again concentrate. The name of the enzyme is ferrochelatase. That means it chelates the iron with the protoporphyrin 9. The another name of this enzyme is called heme synthase. So this was the last step. So the journey begins in mitochondria. It then travels to the cytosol. Again the journey finishes in the mitochondria. So it's a bicompartmental process. So these are the steps. Hope all of you now it is very familiar to you, the steps. Okay. Now the regulation part, that is very important because heme and globin, the synthesis is very synchronized. Heme that is not immediately utilized by incorporation into protein, it is catabolized. So this pathway is tightly regulated to prevent excessive heme production and excessive catabolism. See, this is a heme molecule, this is a globin molecule. Okay, now 4 heme and 4 globin combines to form a hemoglobin molecule. You can see in the next slide that 4 heme and 4 globin. All of we know that hemoglobin occurs as a tetramer. But if heme synthesized more than globin, then what will happen? It will be catabolized. There is no need of that. So this process is tightly regulated, very tightly regulated. Okay. Now in erythroblast, the 85% of the total heme is synthesized for hemoglobin synthesis. That is coordinated with globin synthesis. I am telling this regulation regarding the erythroblast, and in liver that is also regulated, but there not always, there no need of hemoglobin. Other molecules, other heme related enzymes, other hemoproteins are synthesized within the liver. But in erythroid tissue, we need hemoglobin. Now, the regulation, there are only two very important regulatory steps. One is called allosynthes 1. Allosynthes 2 cannot be regulated. And another enzyme is ferrochelatase. Now, allosynthes 1 in liver can be regulated by free heme concentration in the cell. Increase free heme decreases the allosynthes activity. There are some mechanism like number 1, repression mechanism. I am not discussing the detail of this mechanism here. Number 2, inhibits transfer. Number 3, feedback allosteric inhibition. So these are the mechanism involved in this regulation of allosynthes 1. How to regulate the ferrochelatase? Availability of iron. More the iron is available, the ferrochelatase works more. So these are the regulation in erythroblast for ferrochelatase. Now lead can also inhibit the ferrochelatase enzyme. The last step can be prevented by lead. So lead toxicity can prevent the heme synthesis. This finishes the heme synthesis. Hope you understand properly. Thank you very much. See you again in another video.